What's up guys, and welcome back to Meet the Morgans. If you didn't watch our other video, you don't know who we are. I'm Jess.
I'm Rob. We have got
baby on the way.
A little baby boy in there. Can I show them? Can I do that?
Can
I do that?
My shorts are undone because, you know, we're at that stage of pregnancy. And we have a little girl sleeping downstairs.
She's a little bit sick. Yeah, she's a little bit sick, so she's sleeping off her sickness. Hopefully she's feeling a little bit more sprightly later. She might come and join us and tell us a little bit about herself.
She would love that.
She probably will, hopefully. This is our second video if you didn't watch the first one. And what we thought we would do today is give you a little bit more of an insight and a chance to actually meet the Morgans, to tell us to tell you who we are, in case you don't know, in case you're not our friends or family.
Following us.
Or probably just my mum that's subscribed so far. But hopefully we'll get a few more, who knows. Yeah, we'll give you a chance to get to know us in a little bit more depth. We'll do a little bit of a deep dive into our personal backgrounds, each of us, what brought us here to Phuket. How we met here in Phuket. A little bit about our love story, engagement, wedding, all that sort of fun stuff, and where it's led us up until
where
now,
we are now.
up until this point. So lots of fun stuff, going a little bit deep. We'll see how deep, we're not really sure. We'll see how things go. So let's begin.
Okay, so where do I even begin? Basically, my family moved around a lot when I was younger. I grew up in Papua New Guinea, Prague, and then we came back to Australia when I was like 4.
Born in Australia.
Boring Australia.
Born in Australia. Oh. Australia's not boring. Born in Australia. You were born in Papua New Guinea. No, you were born.
No. As soon as I was born, Mum took me over to Papua New Guinea, and that's where I spent most of, it was about a year of my life. I spent there, first year of my life, and then I don't know the details.
You better ask your mum and dad because I wasn't there.
Anyway, I have lived in Papua New Guinea, then after that in Prague in the Czech Republic, and then we came back to Australia until 2008. Then we left to live in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, which is, I don't know if anyone's heard about Riyadh, but it's one of the strictest Muslim countries. Yeah, we had to wear the whole abaya and live on compounds and yeah, all that fun stuff. I only lasted a year and a half, I think, there. It was just too much for me as a teenage girl. And it was just a little bit scary as well. Like, there was a bomb threat on my first day of school there, and we had some we had some lockdown, and we had to go into this like bomb shelter on my first day of school. So yeah, that kind of set the tone for Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Anyway, after that, I came back to Australia, and I went to boarding school for 2 years, I think.
In Adelaide?
In Adelaide. And if you haven't heard of Adelaide before, it's kind of like in the centre of Australia, but right down the bottom. It's just like a sleepy country town, kind of. Well, it's not a country town, but it's like yeah. No, it's amazing. It is beautiful, and they're known for their wineries like Barossa Valley and McLaren Vale and all that.
Don't forget the Adelaide Hills.
At the Adelaide Hills, yes. And they've got some beautiful scenery, like beautiful beaches and everything.
It's got everything.
I'm talking it up now. So.
It's got everything. It's got the beaches, it's got the countryside, it's got a nice little city. It's got lots and lots of churches.
It's got lots of churches. I am not religious, but yeah. So basically, I finished boarding school, and I had a little bit of time off.
Was it 4 high schools in 5 years?
4 high schools in 5 years. Fun times. So it's not something I talk about a lot. I don't really like to talk about it. It's kind of like I kind of just shut it out of my memory. But
go for it, baby.
It's like a counselling session.
Okay, we're not in therapy, but Jess is just going to give you a little bit of an insight into how she spent the late part of your teens, early 20s. Not sure?
I'm emotional talking about that.
You okay?
Okay, here we go. This is raw.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. This is really raw, isn't it?
We haven't got to talk about that, but if you don't mind. Maybe we'll save that for another episode.
So, pregnancy hormones. If you know, you know. So yeah, basically I was in a shitty abusive relationship for about 4.5 years, and my family, God bless them, got me out. And my parents were actually living over in Phuket here in Thailand. And yeah, I decided to come over here and start fresh, you know, reevaluate where I wanted my life to go, what I wanted to study. So yeah, I came to Phuket. It wasn't meant to be for long. I think I had like a timeline of like 6 months, or just, you know, seeing how it went. And then my plans were to go back to Australia, but
your mum and dad were living here. They'd been living here for a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Dad was doing business here.
Yeah, my dad, still is here doing business. And yeah, I just thought it was the perfect place to come and just get your mind straight and get away from everything, the reality really. But then I ended up falling in love with Phuket, Thailand. And
What the fuck are you going to say with me?
oh, well, that's later down the track. And then basically, like, I did go back to Australia for a little bit, and I was studying there, but then I decided to just study online and then come back here because this lifestyle was amazing.
You were living the island life, studying, no real plans on where it was going to go, but just living with your mum and dad, living the island life.
Yeah, smooching off the parents.
Trying to get through the degree.
Yeah. You want to go to how we met now?
Maybe we'll go back and do a little bit about my story.
Yeah, okay, I was going to say, yeah. Okay, let's go back.
Let's rewind to my story, who I am, what brought me to Phuket, and then we can tell you a little bit more about our love story. Yeah? Okay. So I am from South Wales in the UK. I'm a Welshman. Had a little bit more of a settled childhood than Jess. Lived in the same house, went to the same school, brother, sister, twin sister. So quite a settled sort of childhood in a small town in South Wales. I joined the army at 16. So literally 2 weeks after my 16th birthday, I joined the army. Much to my parents' dismay, they didn't really want me to go, but because I was so young, they had to sign the papers, and they agreed to let me leave. It was something that I always wanted to do. Sort of all through my teenage years, I wanted to join the army. I joined the army cadets, and I was all sort of gung-ho, so I had my heart set on. So they allowed me to do that, and I spent 8 years then in the British Army. I spent time in Iraq, I spent time in Northern Ireland, the Falkland Islands, and then actually when I left the army I spent another 3 years on and off then working in Afghanistan as a contractor. From 16 to my late 20s, almost to 30, I was heavily involved in the military, whether I was in the army or whether I was working for the Ministry of Defence on contracts, and the majority of that was in Afghanistan. And I would spend certain amounts of time in Afghanistan, sort of 2 or 3 months, 4 months blocks on, and then I would spend 3 to 6 weeks off. So pretty much head down working for the periods that I was away, and then I pretty much had the flexibility and the means to do sort of whatever I wanted on my time off. So spent a lot of time traveling, traveled to a lot of places all over the world. I think when I was 30 I counted that I'd been to 60 different countries. That was almost 10 years ago, so I imagine I've done another maybe 10 or 15 since.
I don't think there's any place you haven't been.
So I've done a lot of traveling, I've been around, but Phuket was the one place that I always kept coming back to. For some reason, So I've just realised that I brushed over then. I also had a little bit of a colourful youth. So got into my fair share of trouble. Actually almost got thrown out of the army as well. And ran into trouble a few times. As a little bit of a bad boy. Not necessarily a bad boy, but just easily led. And made a few bad decisions in my time. But obviously as you mature, as you get a little bit older, you learn from those lessons, and I've learned a lot of lessons along the way, made a lot of mistakes, and I've learned from those lessons. Obviously that brought me to the end of the contracting role, and that's when I decided that I wanted to have a career in fitness. So while I was working in Afghanistan, I was sort of studying, gaining some qualifications in fitness to become a personal trainer. I was taking a course and doing my exams during my time off as well, and towards the end. And then I qualified as a personal trainer in 2013, so almost 10 years ago. And that's when I decided to take the leap, leave the contracting role, leave the military, which is pretty much all I'd known up until that point, working within the sort of military circles to some extent. Even though I did have periods away from it, I always sort of got drawn back into it. So then once I left that, I basically moved to London. I decided if I wanted to become a trainer and a personal trainer, I wanted to be a good one, and I wanted to put myself in the best situation to have a good career. So I moved to London, which is obviously the capital, and spent 2 years there then, sort of building my personal training business, trying to build a reputation, gain clients and all that sort of stuff. But in the meantime, I'd probably come to Phuket, I reckon, about 7 or 8 times at least, between, I think the first time I came here was like maybe 2007, so between 2007 and 2013, probably 6, 7, maybe 8 times. I kept sort of coming back here. It's the only, like I said, it's the only place that made me feel as if I wanted to come back, and I kept getting drawn back to it.
Something magical about it.
Yeah, it's just got that don't know what it is, je ne sais quoi. Yeah, it's just got something magical about it that draws people here. And when you've come here and you spent a lot of time here, you'll probably know that feeling yourself. So having spent those 2 years in London, I then came back out here, and the fitness scene was really starting to thrive here, really starting to boom, like fitness tourism. Lots of Muay Thai gyms out here, people coming out on fitness holidays, Muay Thai holidays, which is essentially what I did at first as well. Further down the line, I got offered a job at one of the new gyms that was open here, as a strength and conditioning gym. So it wasn't really on my radar at all. I was pretty settled in London, had a nice apartment, living in a nice area in West London. I was living in Holland Park. Nice area, nice job, spent a lot of time in the business. But I don't know, the opportunity of coming out here to Thailand was sort of too good to pass up. And initially I thought maybe I'll give it 6 months, see where it takes me, see what happens. So I came out and started living the island life, and I've basically never looked back since. Get to strut around with my shirt off for the majority of the time. It's pretty simple, pretty not easy life, but it's very laid back, and it's a lot different to living in.
It is a simple life.
It is a simple life. My motto is actually keep it simple. My fitness brand is called Keep It Simple Fitness, so keep it simple is a big part of my ethos. And living here allows me to live that to the best that I can, essentially. I spent 2 years working at that first gym, Unit 27, here in Phuket. Then set up my own business. I set up a fitness escape, a personal fitness escape here, which is geared towards helping people create transformation and lasting change in their lives. Operated that for a few years as well, up until well, that was probably the part that was very, very early in setting up that business. Was when myself and Jess met. I think I had taken over the property, and within the first few weeks, definitely we were talking.
Slid into the DMs.
She slid into the DMs.
He always does.
She slid into the DMs. She was liking my photos. She was reacting to my stories. Were stories even a thing back then? I don't even know if there were stories back then, were there?
No, I don't think there was.
Possibly. But anyway, just giving me a lot of attention, and eventually I agreed to go out with her.
Let's reverse that.
Maybe my memory's a little bit confused, I'm not sure.
Oh, who
Do
are
you
you going to believe? Okay, he slid, well, basically that, but in reverse.
Yeah, I slid into the DMs.
Yeah.
And I was...
he was very persistent.
Persistent, yeah.
I had
Consistent.
sworn off men and relationships, and I just wanted to, you know, go solo for a bit. But yeah, persistency is key, guys.
Write that down, guys. Write that down. Be persistent. Never give up.
If at first she says no, keep at it.
Never said no.
I didn't say no.
She never said no, but we took things very slow. I think she would give me like one response to a message per day, and then I would have to sit there and wait, and then I would reply, and then it was very slow. We were talking for maybe a month or a couple of months.
That's not just with you. I'm so bad with replying to people's messages. If you know, you know. It takes me like days.
Okay, I won't take that personally.
3 to 5 business days.
So yeah, eventually we went on our first date, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. That was the best first date of my life, and clearly, you know, that's why we're here.
Yeah, we did have a pretty nice first date. We got on well. Went to a few nice places. I showed her the good life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went all out. Trust me, I went all out. Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Well,
so I was working hard, guys. I was working hard. But you know, now I'm reaping the rewards of the fruits of my labour.
Yeah.
That was, I guess, the early part of how we met. And things moved pretty quickly, didn't they?
Things moved very quickly. I think we were, I don't know how long.
Move fast, write that down as well.
I don't know how long we were going out for, but then we were planning, we weren't going out for that long, but we were planning a big trip to Italy.
I was planning, Jess was planning a big trip, and I was planning an even bigger trip.
Yeah.
Unbeknown to her. So I think that was about a year and 2 months after we met. I wanted to introduce Jess to my family, so
what year did we meet?
We met in 2017.
17.
And then early summer of 2018, we went back to Europe, so I took Jess back to Wales, back to the green grass of home.
Back to meet the family.
Back to meet the fam, the
Morgans.
Yeah, the OG Morgans. You loved Wales, didn't you?
I loved it. I love it. Not loved. Yeah, it's a beautiful country. It's amazing.
In the summer, when the sun's out and we always seem to get nice weather.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's always a heat wave, but when the sun's out, we get nice weather. It is a nice place.
I always hear that Wales is the worst weather, or it's gonna be raining the whole time.
90% of the time,
every time I've been, it's been the most amazing weather. And
I'm not sure if this is true, but I heard that Swansea was the wettest city in the UK. Might not be true, but it's got to be up there. It's got to be close. It rains a lot. It's pretty grey and miserable for the majority of the time, and I mean that's why I'm living in Thailand, right, in the sun. Apart from
these
last week,
last few months.
we had some really bad rain and some floods, but it's still warm. To be fair, it's still warm. So took you home to meet the fam, then we flew to Italy.
What a trip to take me on. I was a uni student, so I didn't have much money. So like it didn't even click.
Oh,
I know. I didn't. I had no idea. Mum was even, before we left Phuket, Mum took me shopping to the mall, and she was getting me to try on these rings because
I wanted to know a ring size. Obviously difficult to find out because she doesn't wear any jewellery, so I asked her mum if she could find out the size of her ring finger. I took the dad out for dinner, didn't I? I took Dave out for a nice, nice slap-up meal, a bottle of wine, and asked him a few important questions.
Yeah. He was probably like, yeah, when do I sign? So basically, Mum took me out to the mall, trying rings, didn't click. She was saying that she was buying them for herself and she wanted me to try them on. I don't know why that didn't click, but I'm just very oblivious like that. We were in Italy, traveling around. Where did we start?
We went to Florence, then we drove through Toscania.
And Tuscany is beautiful, and it's where
Very charming.
very charming, and it's a perfect place to get on one knee. Apparently.
Yeah. So I had decided that I was going to ask Jess to marry me. Ask Jess to marry me, ask for her hand in marriage, but didn't really know how or where or when I was going to do it. I just knew that we had sort of 10 days in Italy, and at some point when the time was right, that I was going to ask her to marry me.
I made it very difficult.
So I was literally carrying the ring in my pocket for about 4 or 5 days. The time didn't arise for a couple of days, and the perfect time, and actually it worked out so well.
Yeah.
I had booked a winery tour, but then they'd got back to me to tell me that they were doing some refurbishments at the winery, so the winery was closed. And this was like the last day in Tuscany, and I really wanted the proposal to happen in Tuscany. So I contacted the winery back, and I said, you know, I'm coming down with my fiance, and I had some really special plans for the day and all the rest of it. And actually they accommodated us. We had the whole winery to ourselves. So we would have been part of a group tour. But they opened the winery up for us.
It's like meant to be.
Literally, they served us. We were the only 2 people there. And anyway, there's a huge spread of cheeses, meats, wines, breads, olive oils, all this sort of stuff. And it was couldn't have gone much better. And then I got down on my knee, didn't I?
Yeah, I think I said something like, "Oh, can we do this for the rest of our lives?" And
yeah, we were sitting there, just like sipping on some wine and eating some cheese. And she said she wanted to do this for the rest of her life, and I was like, "Boom, that's my cue." So drop the knee, and
I
then
thought he
she was
dropped
like,
a piece of bread. And I was like, "What are you doing?"
she was still eating bread. So didn't even stop. She was like, "Where you going, babe?"
Food is life.
But then there were a few tears.
Yeah, I was
There were a few tears.
so shocked. Did not know that was coming, but obviously, yeah, I said yes.
Yeah. I didn't realise that we were going to go so far in depth into the old engagement story, but we're just
got our travel itinerary at the same time.
Yeah. So that's how we got engaged, essentially. That was back in.
Is that our car alarm? It was not our car.
False alarm. It was an alarm, but it wasn't our car. We're going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrap it up as part 1.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really know that we were going to go into so much depth with the whole engagement story and all the rest of it. And we've got a lot more to tell you, obviously, in terms of what came after that, our wedding, the nightmare situation that almost saw me not getting to Australia for the birth of Summer. Then the whole scenario around COVID-19 and us not being able to get back.
Basically being homeless for
a year.
Yeah.
Not being able to get back home here to Phuket, which was a pretty crazy experience as well.
With the baby, yeah.
With a new baby. So there's lots more to cover. So we'll keep that for a second part, I think.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys are looking forward to watching more, to learning more about us. If you like this video, remember to hit like, subscribe.
Make sure you don't miss out on part 2 of our story.
And all the future videos that are going to come
else.
after that. Okay guys, have yourselves an awesome day, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye. Peace.